Okay guys, quick update with Bitcoin. So we are at our first key support level. If you are bullish on Bitcoin, then you should have already been long from 98,500. If you're expecting more upside, this is the pattern we broke up from. We tested it as support. So again, if you're bullish, this is the point to be long from. The question is this a trap? And I need to show you a larger pattern that we were also in. So if we do break back into this point, below, let's say 98,000, and we're back into the structure, then that lower target will come into play. And if that breaks, so we can see a lot more downside. We're also going to cover Nvidia. I had mentioned this in Discord, and that played out. There was and we'll go into this, but there's this China released a new, I think it's DeepSeek, and now I think a lot of you noticed that Nvidia has dropped a good bit. So we're going to cover that as well as my Dow chart. I'm going to go through, it's a shame you guys, I notice on analytics, you guys skip through the part where I show in Discord, but actually if you watch it, when I show you my thought process, how to read the charts, and also teach you. So I hope you actually watch this all the way through and you don't skip ahead. It was this last video here. It says we need to discuss this Bitcoin chart. You're missing half the picture, and the video before that I was talking about a cycle top, and it was right here. I said, look, this would be the point to go short. We're at critical resistance. I was explaining the MACD on the daily. This is a video you should watch if you have not yet. I'll link up to it now if you want to check it out. You can see we did get rejected. This is our macro trend line resistance that goes back since 2017. So again, I do think we are going to range for a while. Hopefully that last video you listened and you shorted. You should be in profit. That orange ring, I'll give you a time frame on that. So before we get into Discord, I want to show you, how when I make these posts about these different charts and explain to you, how to know if a move's coming and how I adjust and add to the chart. By the way, guys, if you can get a leverage trading, Coincatch is a great option. It's no KYC. Use a VPN. You can use that to your advantage. If you want to learn how to trade, it's a tutorial video I put up teaching you how to set up your account, transfer funds to your futures account, use your trading tools. Link this video now if you want to check it out. So in Discord, let me scroll up here. So the last video, again, I'm making posts every day, hourly. So the last video, I'd mentioned this. So look, you probably want to go short. This was my last video I put up, and I was talking about key levels. This was our support level we caught a bounce from. You'll notice that I added a rising wedge, this blue line and blue line are support and resistance. We're bouncing from that point up and down. And it was here more recently, I was talking about this green line, watch to see if we break it. And I talked about Nvidia, and this is key because there's a lot of money in Nvidia and this whole AI. I still think it's a bubble, but again, China just did something that I think is really going to shake up the whole AI market, and Nvidia makes the chips. So again, I think that's going to take effect with the markets as well. So that's why I think that could be a catalyst. But basically, I was just showing, the Bollinger Bands on the hourly were getting squeezed, and you can use this on the hourly, daily, whatever. When you see the Bollinger Bands start getting closer and closer together, chances are pretty soon you're going to get a move, and that's what I was saying, expect a possible move soon. And we were bouncing back and forth between the red line and blue line. Your key support was 104. Someone made a comment about so many lines, eventually you're going to hit one. Well, we knew that 104,800 was our key support. We knew a move was eventually coming. And then I updated the D1 chart. I added this this trend line, just going by the daily, ignoring the wicks, because it matches up perfectly with the daily. And I was saying, look, if we get an open below 105,200, look, for the D1 chart, if we get by going by the meat of the candles, we get open below 105,200. Yellow line will be flipping from support to resistance. And that's exactly what happened. We broke our support at 104,900 around that area. Notice we dropped from this point, and then we came up, tested this as resistance, and I said that your target down below was 100,000 to 99,000, next point too long. We dipped below, we came down, we dipped a lot below and then pushed back up. And then your next resistance level in the H1 chart, I was letting you know, 102,200. We're going to cover also the daily MACDs. I think it already actually got across. And you can see you've got a rejection. So these charts on the hourly are great for scalping. And we're going to cover Nvidia too. So just want to show you how we do this, and we're going to cover this as well. So let's go into what we already know Again, go back and watch the video. I'm not going to cover this again. Just watch the video. I explained it in detail. You should have shorted from that point. Now the question is, should you go long or do we have further to drop? So that's what we're going to cover. So this is the D1 chart, and you can see this is where I was talking about that yellow line. We did get rejected 105,200, great point to short. We pushed up, got rejected at this, this is basically a rising wedge we broke down from. But we have this pattern that we're in right here, right? Let's do my brush tool here. So support, resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, broke above it, support, support, and support, right? So we have the top of this wedge, which is support, and we have this fib channel line that I mentioned in the previous video that is support. So if you're bullish, be long from that point. If we break below this, get a daily open below 98,000, I would start to worry that we're going to see a lot more downside. Now let me show you the larger structure. I can tell you right now, your next support level below, this is just going to be the next fib channel line below. You can see price has been respecting it. This would be a point to only scalp along, 95,000. That means 98,000 to potentially 98,400 will be resistance. Again, strong resistance. If you break into it, will be strong support. Those are your key levels, but I want to show you the larger pattern we're in, and I'll give you your levels on the hourly as well. This is the H1 chart. So again, like I showed you, expect to move soon. When you see the center Bollinger Band, or I'm sorry, when you see the Bollinger Band start squeezing together, you can expect a big move. And again, using this along with the daily, we caught that big move to the downside. Notice we did drop below this key support down around 99,000, but we did push back up to resistance, got a nice rejection, and you see now we're back at support around 99,443. Central Bollinger Band currently is right around 100,000, 130. We're below that. That's not exactly bullish, but this is what I want to point out right here. Notice I have this dotted red line and this yellow line. And this is also a key support level, guys. It's no coincidence that we have a fib channel. Where's my price label here? It's no coincidence that we have a fib channel line right where that yellow line is. And I'll show you what that yellow line is, by the way. So that's right around 96,764. So that's your next point too long. But if that breaks and becomes resistance, then we're breaking down from a larger pattern. And that is this pattern here. This is basically the H1 chart just zoomed out. You see the dotted line, the yellow line. So this to me looks like we are in a huge rising wedge. Now, if you'll notice, the dotted lines are just basically the top of the wicks. Resistance, 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 and then we started dropping. And same thing with the dotted line below, that's the wicks below. So it looks like the yellow line, if you'll notice, price has been respecting this yellow line very well. It was resistance back here, support, support, resistance, support. So I think that is the actual pattern we're in. And you can see this is a rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern. So again, support, resistance, 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 support, resistance, support. So if we break this point, and again, that's that fib channel line I just showed you when we zoomed in, this fib channel, hold on guys, let me take that off, make that white. So you can see this fib channel line is a very key fib channel line. It's right near the center Bollinger Band, and we have this yellow line that would be the bottom of this pattern. So if we break below 96,764, that becomes resistance, then guys, I would start looking for some much lower targets. So again, if we break below 96,764, you could open a long at 93,000, but I would short 96,879. But basically, just to clarify, this is a very key level. If we break this level right here, with especially daily open below, we're going to see some much lower targets. So I would be holding my short and then just adding to my short every time we come up and test resistance. But we still have to break 96,700. That is your most critical support level below again, if we get below 98,000, that is the next point to pay attention to. All right, so we covered that. Again, in the previous video, I was talking about you should go short. Your next support level below that is around 92,000. Let's look for some confluence here. So 92,000, let's go back to this chart. Okay, so yeah, if we come down to that point, we're already breaking 96,000. So your first major point is 96,000. Take note, we will catch a bounce. This is around 91,600, 92,000. So if we break below, this is next point to catch a nice bounce up to resistance too short. Just making you very aware that if we break below this point, then every time you push up, you don't want to add to your short. That means we have a lot more downside. I just want to show you this looks like a rising wedge. We have not broke down from it yet, but we are very close to support. Again, in timing, again, that green line, as I mentioned in the previous video, is previous resistance flipped as support. So 92,000 is a critical support level, but once we reach that point, I think we're already breaking down from this larger structure, which means we have a lot more downside. I did want to cover Nvidia, and I made this post in Discord. Let me scroll up to it. I actually linked this right here. So China came out with, it's called deepseek. You can look up on, just YouTube search or Google search. And they spent, I think, $6 million. That's all they spent. I mean, what Nvidia and OpenAI, they're spending billions of dollars. For a fraction of the cost, they created something that outperforms what OpenAI, like their latest version. So for a fraction of the cost, they created something that's outperforming what we have here in the US. And this is my Nvidia chart. You can see that this was support, this ring here, and this support right, this blue ring was support here. So saying, look, if we break this key support and this support, the white ring and the blue ring, then we can see a lot of downside. If you'll notice, we actually broke both of those levels. You can see we're testing support now. So if you guys play stocks, let me give you this price label. So you can see we're holding support. There is a moving average here. So your current support is right around 117.86. Since we broke this white ring and broke this blue ring, I think it's much more likely that Nvidia will break 117. We could get a bounce back up to 123, but I think we will see a lot of downside. And your next downside target for Nvidia is all the way down around $80.54. So I would pay attention to that. But again, I think that because of what China's done, I think it's stirring up the AI market, and this could be a catalyst. There's a lot of money in Nvidia and all these AI companies. So if we start seeing those markets start dropping, that's a large percentage of some of these indexes, which again, if markets come down, Bitcoin usually follows the markets. The Dow chart, guys, I know this looks crazy to a lot of you guys. You can see, just kind of make this, hopefully this will make sense to you. You notice over here, this is a resistance level. Notice we just kind of pushed up, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance. And then we started dropping down this red ring. Now, for this to play out, we would have to get a pump. If we measure the distance to this ring right now, that is around, that's 249 days. So for this to play out like this back here, I got a brush tool here. For this to play out, we would need to get a pump, and that is possible. We could get a blow off top. I think a lot of times Bitcoin usually front runs the markets, and this happened previously before COVID happened. Bitcoin was already dropping, and then the markets were pushing up. Bitcoin started pushing up a bit, then Bitcoin crashed, and then the markets crashed. So it is possible, and again, like I said, if we see that, and this is just the Dow, remember indices typically move together, but if we see the Dow push all the way up to, let's say, 46,900, that would be the blow off top, and this is our current resistance, just like I showed you back over here, right? This is our resistance that played out by that red ring. Remember, when we crossed the red ring, we still pushed up and chopped, but then we had a major drop. So I think the same thing could play out, but for it to play out in my time frame with that ring, we would need to get a pump at least to 46,900 or higher, and then we would probably chop for a bit, right? We'll push up like this, chop, and then I think the same thing will play out. We'll move down this ring, and then we'll see a lot of downside with the indices. That's what I'm expecting. We'll have to see. This is just a trend line. Notice that this was our support, briefly was resistance, support, it was resistance. We broke above that. So that is bullish up to potentially 45,960, maybe 46,000. But that does coincide with this target up here. And again, I will be shorting the hell out of this. And again, I do think we are, I think we're at the top with Bitcoin. Obviously, that will be invalidated if we get back above this point, because this, again, this is our trend line going back since 2017, right? So if we get above, if within the next, weeks or within a month, if we get above, let's say 110,000, 111,000, that holds us support. Sorry, guys. If we get above that point and hold support, then yes, we're going much higher. Again, that target right now is around about 110,000, depends when you make contact. So again, if we get above that point, and it's possible, we could get a blow off top with the indices. Everybody gets bullish, it starts pushing up. We start chopping, then it drops. We could get a wick above this point and then come back down. I don't know, we'll have to see what happens. But if you watch that previous video, I did explain to you why it looked like this is a local top, at least to start ranging. That's why I said it'd be likely to drop. We would probably chop and go sideways until we make contact with that orange ring. And timing for that orange ring, let me give that again to you one more time. That is this ring over here. Remember, if we drop, we get closer to the ring. The higher we push up, the further from the ring we are. But at current price, we are exactly 70 days in that ring. And remember, I said I will long contact. When we make contact with the ring, I'll go long. But once we cross it in a resistance, I will short. But those are your levels. And let me give you your H1, your hourly support and resistance levels. Well, you have that. So again, now you can see if we do push up 102, let's say 102,235 is your current key resistance above. And it looks like right now your current resist, well, we're just barely hanging on it. So this could end up being support or resistance. We are below the central Bollinger Band on the daily, which is bearish. But since we're above this point now, if you want to chance a long, again, by the time I put this video up, we'll see. But this is current support 99,344. So you can long out with the stop below. But again, if that becomes resistance, I just showed you your most critical support level. 96,700 has to hold. If you break that, we're breaking down from a larger structure. The next point to scalp along is 93,000 to 91,000 or 92,000. But then you'd want to short 96,700. But again, that is a rising wedge. That could be a bearish pattern. And keep in mind, Nvidia is dropping. So we'll just have to see how this plays out. Just wanted to get this up really quick and show you. Guys, you want to sign up to the charts. The website's opticrypto.com. That link's pinned first comment description. If you want to sign up for Coincatch, again, that link's pinned first comment description. No KYC. Use a VPN. Use that to your advantage. And do watch this tutorial video if you want to learn how to trade. That's it, guys. Trade safe, trade smart. I'm out.